Bulgaria, one of the most painful countries to play as. These national spirits are no joke. And even after this run, I still struggle to see how anyone can find this country fun. Anyway, in this guide, I will show you a less painful way to get the Balkan problem solved achievement. The chief source of our pain will come from the fact that we have to be communist, and I absolutely hate playing as communists. Because firstly, communists don't get integrated puppets from peace deals. And secondly, and most crucially for a speedrunner such as myself, communists don't get any reduction to war goal justification times when at war with a major. This is my single most hated pet peeve in all of HOI4. So, what if we could bypass being communists at all in the first place? What we are going to do, rather counterintuitively, is to not take a focus at all at the very start. First things first, we create an agency. We work our way towards getting a collab government on Germany. Research-wise, I'm not really going to dive too much into it. We start off with the basics. Remember that since you'll be killing many majors very fast, research isn't going to matter much. Just remember to research paratroopers before you attack France in late 1937. Produce transport planes and only trade with France. Once our agency is done, we get at least 5 upgrades so we can hire 2 agents. We send our first agent to build an intel network in Germany. With our first 150 political power, we hire a fascist demagogue. Now this is probably a dev oversight, but it's a good thing for us. Unlike most other countries that got the DLC rework, we can still flip fascist the conventional way as Bulgaria. As fascist support is already quite high, we will do it via referendum and not civil war. The civil war will be unbeatable because our units cannot be disbanded. Now we can start on our focuses. We are going to completely ignore our political branch and start on our industry branch. Once that is done, we do this. And then we choose to attract foreign capital in order to get our extra research slot, because it gives us boosts to political power gain. Once we get the 5th upgrade, we stop upgrading and we wait another 29 days to get our 2nd spy. I have some factories damaged in worker strikes. That's another reason why I absolutely hate Bulgaria. It is tempting, but do not start a collab government yet. We must wait till we are fascists, join the Axis, so that we can refuse our army restrictions, and then leave the Axis and then start a collab government. These events are always helpful. Unfortunately, they are dependent on RNG and you might not always be so lucky to get them. Now, once this focus is done, it will be very tempting to grab your 4th research slot. But we won't. We are going to need a lot of PP, not just to flip fascist, but also to refuse our army restrictions and justify a war goal on France. After this research is done, it is also a good time to start working on paratroopers. Also, around 29 September, dump all your factories in transport planes. Not too soon, nor too late. If you do this too soon, you won't have enough equipment to do a collab government on Germany. This is another helpful event. Of course, we choose the first option. Now we can first open up political discourse. As you can see, the decisions are all very expensive. And it doesn't help that with low stability, our political power gain is sorely affected. Around this time, we can discredit the government. That still isn't enough, so we also ban democracy. That still isn't enough, so we wait a few more days. We can now hold a national referendum. We now join the Axis, so that we can refuse our army restrictions. We also start justifying on France. We haven't done a collab on Germany yet, so we leave the faction. Remember to replace your spy in Germany. Now start preparing a collab. Now we can finally get our 4th research slot. Also, since we need to go communist later, it will be wise to fire our fascist demagogue. Once preparations are done, remember to put your factories back into your trade. Start training paratroopers. When Japan attacks China, begin justifying a war goal on Japan. Cancel and re-justify just before completion. We want to raise tension for faster war goal justifications. Our next focus will be National Military Academy. We want that extra army XP so that we can create a new template and send more of our units over, since we are lacking in convoys. Next, we complete the focus that gives us extra army XP. In this run, we will not be able to get any army advisor, so any army XP is welcome. Create a 1 battalion Cav division for shipping over. Convert your paratroopers over to the Cav for now. We will convert them back to paratrooper divisions once they arrive in Germany. Now for the next focus, we take either the industry one or the one that gives us extra manpower. From experience, manpower is a temporary problem, but industry will be more critical to your conquest. So I recommend you choose the one that gives you mills. Our collab should finish around September. This time I was lucky and managed to increase collab by 45%. You can either save scum around 10 days in advance, or just hustle to capture more VPs when Order 66ing Germany. Now we can join Germany's faction. We can only ship over 5 at a time. 5 is the bare minimum to be able to cap France. If you're going for a sub-1940 run like me, then you have to take that risk. Just keep your fingers crossed and pray to RNGesus that all 5 of your paratroopers drop. If you're more conservative, then you have to wait to ship over the other 3 for a total of 8. This will make it far harder for you to complete the formation of the Balkan Federation before 1940, as there will be a delay in your war goal justifications. All these 5 cities are needed as a bare minimum to cap France. At this point, I highly recommend you make a backup save just in case one or more of these VPs are garrisoned, especially Calais as it's coastal and it's worth 15 points. On a normal day, I'll be using 6 paratroopers and instead of Calais, I will drop Lyon and Limoges. Yeah, I don't think I pronounced that right, but anyway, if any of these cities are garrisoned, just reload. Now I will justify a war goal on Luxembourg. Because Luxembourg is so weak, it tends to get guaranteed by a bunch of other small countries, and in my case, they were Belgium and Denmark, which means more free conquest for me. Now, France is already in the Allies, so we will perform an exploit which I call the 1 AM exploit. We quit and load the game every day at 1 AM until France caps. This somehow prevents them from calling in their other allies, such as the UK. We are still not strong enough to fight the UK and France at the same time, so we need to puppet France first. Once all 5 of your paratroopers drop, you can leave the faction and then start creating another collab government on Germany, just to be safe. In this run, I didn't need to use my second collab on Germany, but I recommend you do it just in case your Order 66 on Germany fails later on. Remember to save scum just before trying out Order 66 with your first collab gov. If it fails, you can just wait for the second one. In the peace deal with France, we are going to apply a technique which I call pseudo-puppeting. We are going to puppet France in all their core territories but leave them alive in at least one non-core territory. What happens is that our French puppet will not be the original France and will have a tag of D something. We do this because, for some reason, this new, or pseudo-France, will give us more troops than a regular France when we request their forces. Useful for rushing down the UK and even more useful for executing Order 66. At this point in the game, you need to save scum. Ensure that Atatürk is still alive, and Inonu has not taken over. Inonu is one of the most annoying characters in the game because he increases the time taken to justify war goals on Turkey by 200%. If Atatürk is still in power, we go ahead, declare war on Luxembourg, the UK is calling, and we use our very first justification to justify on Turkey for peace of mind. The UK in HOI4 is very weak compared to real life, but still, don't underestimate it. Rush the gaps as fast as possible before the UK and their allies Belgium and Denmark can send their troops to the British Isles. The French puppet tends to have a few motorized and cav units which we will use to rush Glasgow and Edinburgh, just in case we fail to take some cities in England such as Hull or Newcastle. If the UK or its allies manage to death stack a tile, don't force your way through, just go around. If they happen to more or less death stack every tile, don't panic. Just hold and defend and they should move their troops away eventually. A word of caution, rushing down the UK as Bulgaria tends to be harder than other minor nations, because for some reasons, the UK defends its islands better. My guess is that the AI is coded to do so because we are supposed to have pissed off the UK by refusing our military restrictions. While at war with the UK, justify also on Greece and Yugoslavia. Once that is done, justify on Germany. When you're just about to cap the UK, declare on Turkey, Yugoslavia and Greece. Romania will be pulled in. Ensure they have all joined the Allies before finally capping the UK. In the peace deal, we again apply pseudo-puppeting to the UK. Also get war economy. For our next focus, we will be very tempted to get our 5th research slot and then Prussia of the Balkans. However, if we want to form the Balkan Federation before 1940, we must abandon this branch forever. From now on, we have to solely focus on our main political branch. Start by opposing the royal dictatorship. Once our war goal on Germany completes, we join the Axis and then ship our expeditionary forces over to surround their major victory points. Events like this make me wonder how anyone can find Bulgaria fun. I'm convinced that those who do must either be masochists or sociopaths. We now have an impending coup to deal with. So we must repress the Zveno. We'll have to divert 35 days to this focus, and then spend PP on decisions that will bring down the loyalty and popularity of the Zveno. At least, we now come to my favorite part of the run. Once all our troops are in position, we delete them, leave the Axis, and then immediately declare war. While at war with Germany, also start justifying a war goal on Italy. Within that same hour, request back expeditionary forces from your puppets, and then press H to halt. Execute Order 66. Focus on killing Germany as fast as possible. Use force attack and last stand where necessary. Especially keep an eye out on those troops who have already taken a victory point but are currently under assault by German troops. Single them out, put them under a general, and spam last stand. Seriously, Germany, is that all you got? I made a mistake here that nearly cost me the run. Italy will not grant me military access because they are pissed off at the embargo I imposed on them. So I have to improve relations in order for them to grant me military access. Ideally, while you're at war with the Allies, you can ask Italy for military access because Ethiopia will be in the Allies, just that they'll be capitulated. With Germany as a puppet, we can also license all their planes. This is why we don't need to spend a single research slot on air. Now we will do to Italy what we did to Germany. There is a way to prevent the civil war from firing, and this method happens to work very well with Order 66. If you manage to capture many of Italy's VPs fast enough, as in the case with Order 66, the balance of power will not be shifted too far, and usually there will be one or two major VPs that you failed to take. Normally, the civil war would have fired by then. However, you now have to take that final VP or two to push them over the brink. In my case, that final victory point is Venice. I time my surrounding units to move in to ensure that they take the city only at 2400 hours. I also move all surrounding units simultaneously, just in case some of them come under assault by Italian units, or some are affected by fluctuations in air superiority. It takes a lot of observation and micro, but the results may be worth it. Whether or not the results really are worth it will be up to you. Also, when you reach 22 or 2300 hours, put the game on 5 speed. This prevents the game from detecting that the puppet should be joining your side. Once that focus is done, don't forget to start on your anti-Zveno decisions. Now continue down the communist branch of the focus tree. Don't forget to keep taking these decisions when available. This is optional, but I also do Order 66 on Japan so I can benefit from faster war goal justifications on other countries. In order to make sure I'm always at war with a major, I declare war on Netherlands just before capping Japan, and if I'm lucky, the Netherlands joins the GEA CPS, but doesn't get called into the war against China. This means that they are not in the peace deal and are now the sole remaining member of the faction. So they're a major, and I'm still at war with them, giving me massive reductions to war goal justifications. Here's another reminder to keep spamming those anti-Zveno decisions. The Zveno are nearly dead, and will be soon. The Dutch like to annoy me with convoy raiding, so I pull off the same stunt I did on Japan with Albania. Albania is now a major, and I use the war goal justification time reduction to quickly take out Czechoslovakia and Hungary. With their popularity and loyalty at 0, we can finally crush the Zveno for good. An important word of caution. As you can see, if your stability is not above 30% by the time this focus is complete, it will lead to a civil war. However, if you've done everything right, then simply not being at war will give you just enough stability to be able to complete that focus without any problems. So simply finish up any wars you're in and be at peace at the time of the focus's completion. That's what you get for being such a pain in the ass. And now we can't progress with our focus tree yet because the broad socialist faction loyalty has not surpassed 50. Seriously, Bulgaria, do these shitty mechanics ever end? Take this decision 2 times in a row. This means I'm going to lose around 10 days of time, but I will still be able to scrape through with a Balkan Federation in December 1939. USA did, this is optional, full run in the description below, enough said. Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore, so the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship was bypassed. If you want to get the achievement, which requires you to be a faction leader, continue down that path to create a faction of your own and be its leader. However, as I already have the achievement, I'm gunning to form the Balkan Federation before 1940, and the Soviet path is simply faster. Now for the rest, there really isn't much for me to explain, just follow the focuses to the very end. I'm just gonna mop up to create a map more to my liking. The game's basically won at this point, I don't care.